There we go. Welcome everyone to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. Wonderful to be here with you all this morning. And our practitioner of the day is Maureen Bishop. And I'm going to turn things over to her to begin with our opening prayer, our invocation. So take it away, Maureen.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone. Aloha from Hawaii. And as Michelle said earlier, let's start this off with a big breath, and let's just bring in life, bring in light, bring in the breath of life right here, right where we are. And just know that as I give this prayer, I'm giving it in the first person for all of you, because there's only one and we are all one. There's an amazing power in the universe and we use it now. So another breath. And just greet this new day and this new year. And I know for each of us, we are peace in our heart because there is only the one. There's only one spirit. Wherever we are on this planet, there is only the one in our hearts, in us, as us, and around us, and through us. God's life is my life right here, right now. And I declare for each of us that I am at peace. My heart is at peace. I know something great is happening, and I release any fear. I release anything unlike perfect peace. My heart is filled with life and filled with light, knowing that everyone I see is one with God. We are all one with this power and presence, and we use it. And I give thanks in advance for today's lesson, which will show us and allow us to be a greater expression of the divinity that we are. So I know this for all of us. The I am healed, I am whole, I am healthy, I am peaceful, I am prosperous, and I am love expressing. So I release my word into the law. I know it is acted upon as I have spoken it. I know it's so, and together we say, and so it is. So the quote from today is from The Science of Mind. And I know some people out there think Ernest is a little wordy and he doesn't quite, he doesn't talk in today's vernacular. And this is actually kind of 3 quotes from the 2nd chapter of the book called The Way It Works. And so I wanted to go through this a little and tell you what it means to me. Like the creative soil in which seeds are planted and from which plant life grows, the soul of the universe is the creative medium into which the word of spirit falls and from which creation arises. And I call it the soul of the universe. I call it the soil of the universe. If you think about it, it's the soil in which our words are planted, our thoughts and our emotions go into the soil of the universe. And then it goes on. This is the same chapter. Law is the invisible actor working through us. Law is mind in action. It is a potential energy and latent, I can't quite see that word there, power, which means it's unformed, but always ready to take form. So it's an actor, and we're the ones who tell it to act. We're the ones who have the power in us, speaking our minds, creating our thoughts. We're the one who puts the actor into action. And the last part of this quote, as much as we can believe will be done unto us. If we can conceive only a little good, That's as much as we can experience. And that's part of that reason why we say at the end of prayers, we say this or something greater, because there's so much more the universe wants to give us. We just have to say yes and open up. If we only conceive of a little tiny bit, that's what we're going to get. But the law it's just automatic, will act for your good. So let's take a little, are we still doing like a little 4-minute meditation? We'll do a little meditation. And I want you to just know with me that the power is in you. The power is at your command all the time. It is a great actor. It's ready for you to give it direction. So let's, as we go into meditation, think about an action you want the universe to do for you. What do you want more of in your life? What do you want? What can you, if you can't conceive of it, then just be open. Just be open to receive something greater, maybe a little surprise. All right, so let's take another breath and relax and go into the quiet. So let's come back into the room. And take another breath. And let's say together January's affirmation, which is beautiful. There is a timeless wisdom within me. I open my heart and allow it to flow. I am always at choice. I am the vision caster of my life. And everything I think, feel, say, and do is in service to my vision of good. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. That was beautiful. Really enjoyed that. I love the quotes. And Richard has a Daniel Nahmod song for us. So.
Yes. This song is about what works. It's about keeping open for what comes next. Flexibility. Keeping an open mind. Everything new. Bring it on. Everything new. everything different, everything true. Yes, I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. I think I've finally learned, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. Yes, I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming of the life that I had, that it's ever coming back. No more wishing on somebody else's star that'll never be mine. I think it's time, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. Yes, I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before, broken hearts and slamming doors, you know. But I'll be all right, yes I will once more, just as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, we're gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's going to be everything new. Yes, I know it's going to be everything new. So bring it on.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, it's that time. It's that time of year. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I love that song. Okay, good morning and welcome again to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. I want to thank Maureen and I want to thank Richard for getting us started here. So I want to begin this morning by sharing with you one of my very favorite quotes. I actually have a little plaque that has the quote on it. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. And the quote is, let's see, I can't really read it from my own. The quote is, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." And that's a quote from a woman, a writer. I think she was American, Cuban, French woman named Anas Nin. I think it's beautiful. Can everyone hear me all right? I'm getting some feedback on my end. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. We're okay? All right. So the quote speaks to me because it reminds me how easy it is for us to become too comfortable, to the point almost of complacency, you know, in the way that life is right now, even when it isn't really the life that we truly want to live. You know, and the quote reminds me of how fear of the unknown, you know, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, can keep us stuck. You know, and our lack of trust in what's possible for life can keep us from allowing the good to flow from the infinite that we know is available to us all the time, to express through us. And it reminds me that I'm the one. I have to be willing to allow life to bloom. I must be the one to initiate the process of growth and of change, even when it feels a little risky. Life is a little risky. It's when I move outside of my comfort zone, and you know, nothing really much happens in the comfort zone except for just what is. And when I move out of that comfort zone, that's when life truly begins to grow and to change and to blossom through me and as me, as we like to say. You know, and as gardeners of our lives, because we're using that metaphor today, we've already started, we don't actually make a flower bloom. You know, that's not really our job. We plant the seeds and we tend the soil, and our job is simply to create the environment that supports the eventual bloom. Our work is within the fertile ground of our own consciousness, and we have to be willing to do our part to create the environment that will support the flower that eventually blooms. And this is our focus this morning. My talk title is Timeless Wisdom, the Way It Works, and how we use timeless spiritual principles consciously in our lives by participating with natural law and creating a world that we want to live in, you know, one that is an expression of the love of our Creator, that love that is within us all the time, that we tap into whenever we want to feel the expression of it. Ernest Holmes, our founder, I actually was kind of smiling as I was sharing Maureen's quote, because part of my quote is a little bit of what she shared. So let me see if I can get mine up here. Share screen. Here we go. Here's the quote by Agnès Nin. And here's Ernest Holmes' quote. Oops, tried to get it out of the way so you could see it, and I messed it up. There we go. So Holmes wrote, and this is from The Way It Works as well. The gardener goes forth in faith to sow his seeds. He has learned that as he or she sows, so shall he or she reap. That law works for all alike. Such an important concept. That doesn't matter what we plant. It doesn't matter who we are. The law is going to work. It's impersonal. We must accustom ourselves to the concept of the impersonalness of the law. If we can conceive only a little good, that is as much as we can experience. Oh, how true. Let me get back. You know, and the opposite is true of that as well, though. You know, if we have a limitless concept of the good that's available to us, then we're not bound by anything that we previously experienced or believed or were working from. You know, I noticed that Holmes was very clear that the gardener goes forth in faith. I love that idea. He made that very clear, that the kind of harvest we reap is dependent upon an element of deep conviction. You know, conviction in the truth that is already inherent in the seed itself and in the nature of the principle, the law, which enables it to grow. Both our belief in the seed and our participation with the law are the way it works. We need both of those ingredients to have faith in what is possible, to have faith in the law that brings it into our experience. You know, and he was also very clear that we're empowered to plant any seed we want. You know, we're doing it all the time. And the seed we plant will determine whether we harvest carrots or tomatoes or beets or whatever it is that we've planted. We can plant lack or we can, and limitation, or we can plant abundance and prosperity. We can plant peace, or we can plant confusion. We can plant friendship, or we can plant conflict. It's up to us. What we are holding, the belief and the conviction, is the seed that we're planting. And we can use the timeless wisdom, which is what we're talking about all month, or actually all year. We can use the timeless wisdom that's been handed down to us from visionaries throughout history, from contemporary teachers, from science and philosophy, and from our own intuitive knowing. Let's never forget how powerful that intuitive knowing is, because we're all connected to this infinite source and pool of wisdom. And I find this really inspiring. And not because people who came before us had some special insight that we don't have. We do through that intuitive knowing, but because it validates for me that the spiritual principles that I'm participating with, that you're participating with right here, right now, today, can be counted on and trusted, because they're as true for us today as they were in the beginning of time. They've always been true. They're beyond time and space. They will always be true. And they're always working in our lives. You know, and last week I pointed out that science of mind, which comes under the umbrella of new thought, is not a new idea at all. You know, it is based in this timeless wisdom of that we're talking about. It's based in ancient ways of knowing truth. Not just by what we perceive with our five senses and our analytical brains, but by our deep intuitive knowing, which comes from our oneness with spirit. You know, can you feel it when you go into meditation, or when you're in the middle of an awe-inspiring mystical moment, that there is within you this deep wisdom, this deep knowing of who you are and how you're connected that comes bubbling up? I call it the wisdom of the heart, because it is that heart space and that heart area that we think of as our connection to the all that is, to the thing itself, that pool of divinity from which we came, our creator. So this idea of our oneness with our creator and our ability to participate with creative law shows up in many different sacred texts. I wrote some down so I could share them with you. Let's see. In Job, in the Old Testament, it says, "You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you." You will decide on a matter and it will be established for you. And we've talked about that, how powerful making a decision about something is. It is that decision-making process that sets an intention, and it demonstrates for you. In Matthew, "According to your faith, let it be done to you." We know that's true. And in Luke, the things that are, I love this one, the things that are impossible with men or women, with people, are possible with God. I particularly like this one because it makes it so clear that we're unlimited when we partner with our creator, when we partner with the divine. And of course, you know, these few sayings are just a few that are from the Judeo-Christian tradition. And this idea is found across the globe in all different traditions. It's found in Eastern traditions. And there's one that I wanted to share from the Dhammapada, which is a collection of teachings, the teachings of the Buddha. And it reads, "We are what we think. All that we are arises from our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." I love that. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as a shadow, unshakable. We cannot move out of our shadow. So what we teach in New Thought, about our ability to participate with creative law is an ancient idea, a timeless idea, an infinite idea. Working, and here's the beautiful thing, it is working in our lives right now as we're talking about it, as we're sitting here in these seats in this virtual room and in our own individual rooms. It is working through us right here and right now, whether we're aware of it or not. And it's up to us to explore and to understand and to use this timeless wisdom that's been handed down to us, so that we can learn to live our lives to the fullest. And what I've personally discovered is that stepping into that fullness that is available to all of us, to me and to all of us, comes not only from the head, but mostly from my heart. I remember my mother used to always say, make the small decisions from your head and the large decisions from your heart. It's the wisdom of the heart. And to get access to that wisdom and to put it into action in our lives requires a few things on our part. And I always like to make things easy to remember. So this morning, I'm going to talk about the ABCs. A, we have to become aware, to dive into our current beliefs, to dive into our current way of living and being, and to be honest about it. What am I really experiencing? Is it what I want to be experiencing? And B, we have to tune in to our connection with the infinite, with that source that is already within us, that I think comes through the heart area. It actually comes from everywhere, but I connect with it there. I think of going deep into my heart, that subjective mind of my individual mind and the subjective mind of the all that is. So we become what we want to experience in our lives by connecting with that source. We already have everything we need. We just draw it forward and we become that. And see, we have to step into the consciousness of creation. We have to lighten up and open up and allow. We have to be aware of what is, become what we want to be and see in the world, and to create from that place, from that connection. So A, B, C. So let's dive into this a little bit more. I always like to make things as simple as possible so we can remember them. We become aware. You know, I'm reminded that in practitioner training, the entire first year of training is spent becoming aware of how life got to be the way it is, by looking at how we've been using creative law up until this moment, even if we haven't been doing it in a conscious way. How has life been working? How has law, been working in our lives, our individual lives? When we begin to look at the patterns, we all see patterns in our lives, right? When we begin to look at the patterns that have unfolded for us, you know, how many times have you said, gee, I thought I had healed this thing that keeps popping up in my life, but apparently not, because it's still there. To become aware, we reflect on the ways in which our thinking has influenced how we feel, and how these thinking and feeling loops have shaped the way we see the world, and how they have literally created our lives. And that's happening all the time. And the wonderful and amazing gift of this kind of self-reflection and insight is that we begin to recognize what we've been doing. We realize that if I've been doing this all the time, creating my life, then I must be empowered to change it. We begin to notice our old beliefs that we didn't even really realize we were holding on to, our old wounds that have been repressed for so long that we didn't even realize they were there anymore. And they begin to rise up for us, and we begin to see them, and we begin to heal them. And what we feel, we can heal. We have to move into the experience of it so that we can process it, recognize it, and move through it. What we feel, we can heal. And as we begin to be aware of how life got to be the way it is, We become willing to enter into that wisdom of our heart. Within the wisdom of our heart, we did a meditation this morning where we went into our heart and we drew forward all the qualities of God. But the one that encompasses everything is wholeness. We are whole here. We are this undivided spirit. And it's here in the heart that we become in our human selves who we already are in our God selves. And we can use this as the seed, to go back to our metaphor, we can use this as the seed we plant into the fertile ground of consciousness, our subconscious or subjective minds. And here's where our lives begin to shift, to transform. And we begin to reflect this wholeness out into everything we do and everything we say and everything we are. And as we learn to embrace our past from the wholeness of our heart, we're free to create something new, to create a new present, to create a new future, to move into something fresh. So we're empowered to become, to use our be here, who we really already are in God, in our humanness. And there's so many great examples of masters and just regular people who have done this, who have shifted from what is to what is impossible, what is possible, not impossible, possible in our lives, to what we can express, what we're capable of expressing. And I'm reminded of the story of Nelson Mandela, because I just recently heard someone telling the whole account of his life and how he went from being a prisoner in South Africa to being the president of South Africa. Talk about a shift, talk about becoming. And his life is such a great example of transformation and creation. I remember that Martin Luther King Jr. told us that all we have to do is take the first step. We may not be able to see the entire staircase, but our job is at least to take the first step. And this story of Nelson Mandela's story really reflects that truth, that he just started to take the first step and it just unfolded from there. We can do that. We can take the first step. When Nelson Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment, it was Robben Island in South Africa. He, by his own admission, said he was a very angry man. And he spent his first few years there so embittered that he would just say over and over again, my life is over, my life is over, my life is over. And then one day he recalls that the thought came to him, what if it's not over? And just that one small thought made him feel better. So he stayed inside that thought, and the energy of that thought began to expand within him, and he began to feel better, and he began to feel better. So he kept saying it. What if it's not over? What if it's not over? And eventually, he recalls that his heart began to open to something new, to a possibility that was there that he hadn't even thought of before. And he started thinking, what if my being imprisoned here in this place is actually part of the ending of apartheid? And then he began to ask himself, if that's true, then what should I do? And he recalled that the idea of writing letters came to him. Isn't it funny how when we take that first step, that the next step shows up? The thing that is ours to do pops up in front of us. It's been my experience as well. So he decided, he had the idea that writing letters was where he should begin. So he began to write letters. And over time, he wrote more letters and more letters. And as he wrote more and more and more people started becoming aware of what was happening in South Africa, what was happening with apartheid, and what was going on. And then he said that the American media picked up on it, and that led to sanctions. And he began to shift, and he began to change internally into someone who could envision a new country and a new world and a new life for himself. And Mandela reflected that the man he was when he originally went to prison, that angry man who kept saying, it's over, it's over, it's over, could never have been the leader of his country. And the truth and the reconciliation hearings that he eventually led when he became president, he could never have done them from who he was in the beginning. He reflected that he had to become the man who could do those things, and that it was definitely a journey of the heart. It was becoming what he wanted to see in the world. He had to tune in to what was already deep within him, in the wisdom of his own heart, in that connection with the all that is, because that's who we all are. We're all the divine in human form. And then he recalled that the feelings that were deep within him were the key. Those feelings, that wisdom of the heart, was the key to his transformation. We must become what it is we want to bring forward into the world. We have to tune in to what is already there deep within us. You know, and I'm inspired by the metamorphosis that took place within Mandela's, and because I can see how in my own life, transformation is possible simply by me being willing to take that first step, to engage with a new thought. Last week, we talked about how a new thought creates a new condition. That's the first step. Feeling its truth and continuing to think it and feel it and think it and feel it over and over again. That is the beginning of the transformation, of the metamorphosis. And we are empowered to do exactly the same thing in our own lives, because that's the way it works. The way it works is impersonal. It works for me, it works for you, it works for Mandela. Anyone can transform simply by connecting and cooperating and participating with the divine truth of who we are and the laws that support us. And our C is to create. And honestly, I have to say that this part is not really our job. Our job is to plant the seed, to tend the soil, which is to become aware, to dive into the emotions and the things that are active in our subjective mind, to feel them and heal them, and then to become what it is we'd like to create in our lives, because we don't create from who we think we are or what we think we'd like to have. We create from who we know we are, who we feel we are, at the depth of our being, at the subjective level. And when we open our hearts to our authentic self, to that part of us that is our God self, then all of the possibilities are available to us that are within the life of spirit, the life of God, the life of the divine. And then we can, from that connection, consciously co-create from our own divine reality. And it has been my experience that this creative energy that rises up in us when we connect with that lightens us up. You know, you can just feel it when you're standing in the flow, when you know things are moving. It lifts us up, and we can feel the resonance of living from that place of connection. It's joyous. So we plant the seed, we tend the soil, and we participate, we co-create with the creative law, with the creative process itself. But we don't have to worry about the how. We just have to plant the seed and tend the soil, and the seed will become the bloom. So while this ABC process, being aware, becoming, and creating, happens over years, months, weeks, it's important, I think, for us to remember that it's also happening right now, right in this moment, every day. And it begins in the small ways, just like in Mandela's life. It's an ongoing process, and it's through spiritual practice. It is a spiritual practice in our daily life, and we can employ it in our daily life all the time. We don't have to wait for something else to happen. We just have to begin to plant the seeds of a new thought and a new feeling. That's a spiritual process, to engage with it in every moment and to know and to feel, right? To be aware. I'm not feeling so hot right now. How can I shift that? That's our spiritual process, to become aware of how we're thinking and feeling and make adjustments and in both as we go. And it's sort of like water flowing over the rocks in its path, like on a stream. You know, our thoughts and our feelings will persistently be smoothed out, the rough edges softened, and as we create our lives from this constant remembering of who we are, of the awareness and the becoming and the shifting, which is just a beautiful spiritual process in and of itself. So here's what I know for sure. If we keep breathing, if I keep breathing, if you keep breathing for another 365 days, we will have created another year of our life. That's just a fact. It's going to happen. And the exciting part is that we are empowered to decide how we're going to do that. You know, we can decide whether we're going to live our lives by conscious design or by default. Default to the program that we're already running. And we are running a program from all the old patterns of thinking and feeling. Or are we going to move into something new, something fresh and new, by aligning with our divine nature, by aligning, by diving in, tuning in to what is already true within us. And guess what? We're at choice about whether we want to do that or not. And honestly, I find this wildly exciting. I am empowered to create something new simply by what I'm thinking and feeling. I can take that first step, even if I can't see the whole staircase. You know, and honestly, I have to pause here because I think I would be remiss if I did not at least address the turmoil that we've seen in our country over the last week. It's important that we acknowledge what's going on, even if we don't have to become consumed by it. But I think this gives us a very good opportunity to do just exactly what I've been talking about in this morning message, to become aware of what's going on, to feel how we feel about it, to realize what we're thinking about it, to talk about it, to become aware of what's going on. And then using that recognition, becoming aware of what's happening, we can move into a deeper connection with the source within us, which everything is born and available and ready to go. And we can become, in the reality of our own individual being, what we would like to see in the world. Because we, as we move into that greater place of being, are creating something new at our point of consciousness, but we're also thinking into the collective consciousness. We are also changing the thoughts. We are contributing to the collective consciousness of humankind in general. So as we dive in and as we tune in and lighten up to the reality of what we actually want to create, we do it for ourselves and we contribute to the consciousness of the collective awareness, the collective consciousness. You know, and I am well aware of the challenge in staying grounded in the beliefs and the values that we hold when we see things around us that are unsettling. You know, I'm often drawn into a desire to move into a different space, to be down in the problem rather than up in the solution. It's human. We want to fix things. We want to make them better. But the only way that we can accomplish that is by moving into and creating within our deepest self what we want to see in the world. And then spirit will take it from there. And we've been getting a lot of practice doing that over this past year. And I encourage you and myself to meet whatever comes up with faith and not with fear. Just like Ernest Holmes said in that quote that I shared with you at the beginning, that it takes faith. We plant our seeds in faith. Join with me to plant the seeds of peace and love and compassion and understanding, deep, deep peace with me When we are aware of what is rising up, we can see it, we can feel it, we can heal it. And then we are called to become what we want to see and create in the world. Join with me in knowing that over these next days, this next yet to be that we're moving into. For I know that love is much, much more powerful than any fear that has ever been experienced. So let's move into prayer together. I invite you to take a nice deep breath with me. And I know that all there is spirit, all there is God, all there is beauty and wisdom and peace and fullness and wholeness. That God, spirit, the all that is, the creator, that is continually creating and experiencing itself through its creation, which is us, is simply love. It is life. It is infinite and unfolding and beautiful right where it is and right where we are, for we are it. So I speak my word for and about the allness of creation, the allness of the expression of the love and the peace of this creative energy, which we call God. And I know that there is a shift in each and every individual expression of this consciousness that is moving into alignment with that peace and love and beingness, and that it is expressed through us, as us in a new and a fresh way, that together we are creating the experience of our beloved human family and all life on planet Earth. So I know that this shift is taking place. I know that I can feel it in my own, the depth of my being, and it is welling up from the center of who and what we are and making itself known in new and fresh ways. Thank you, God, for this shift in consciousness. Thank you, God, for this ability to create and to know the truth of our divine selves. So I just give great thanks for this new way of being and knowing and this shift in consciousness and this welling up of infinite love. I just say thank you. And that energy of gratitude opens us up even further to receive, to create, and to be. So I just relax in this, knowing all is well and that my words are power and they influence and impress creative law. They have no choice. So for this, I remain grateful. I allow it to be. I release my prayer. I let spirit do spirit's work. And I invite you to signify your agreement by saying with me, and so it is. Deep breath. I always have to take a minute. Remember what comes next. So next is our wonderful sacred time of sacred giving. So I am so grateful for everyone who has continued to support One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. I am grateful for the energy and the prosperity flowing through our beautiful center and the ways in which we can come together and serve each other in our community and also the world. And I invite you to join us on Tuesday and Wednesday evening where we get even deeper and we get into some juicy, exciting stuff. I know it always makes my week. So let's see, I'm gonna share my screen. Da-da-da-da. And here are the ways that you can give to One Heart, One Mind on Venmo, Tidely, or to send a snail mail check to Jim Massipus, who deposits them into our One Heart, One Mind bank account. And he's gonna share that address with you. And I invite you to imagine you're holding your gift, your sacred gift of energy, the energy of money, which goes out to do its work in love, and say this affirmation with me. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful. And so it is. Leslie, do you have any,
Yes,
okay, good,
yes.
wonderful.
On our discussion group on Tuesday evening is going to be facilitated by Reverend Michelle, and it's going to be called Spiritual Practice in a Busy World. And then Wednesday is the class Revealing Wholeness. And then a reminder that Catherine Zimmerman has given us a 5-minute guided meditation that we can go online and access. And the link to all of those are found in your newsletter that you can take a look at. So with that being said, would everyone please join me in our benediction? We give thanks for this service this morning and know that all of us as a group and individually are creating a new world. And we affirm that our lives are an example of the principles that we teach and this philosophy that we live. We are open. We are open to change, to compassion, not only for others, but for ourselves. And we are open to peace, knowing that there are many ways to do things and that we are ready and willing to hear all options, knowing that the choices will be made for the best of all concerned. We are thankful for this knowingness. We let it be, and together we say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Leslie, so much. Should I share my screen? I'll share my screen. We're going to sing Sacred Love, which we haven't sang in a while, but it's a beautiful song. Here's the lyrics. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say this song is a message from ourselves to ourselves. And actually, as far as the pronoun is concerned, you could put you, or you could put I, or you can put we. It's called Sacred Love. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. We are sacred love, sacred love is all that